swords, spears, these things, and whatever this is. The classic movie Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon featured a wide array of kung fu weapons. Some you may know the name of and what they are for, and some you may not. So in this video, just for fun, I wanted to go through all of the weapons in the fight scene between Zhang Ziyi and Michelle Yeoh's characters, which features Michelle Yeoh constantly changing weapons as none is a match for the Green Destiny sword. So this is every weapon from this iconic kung fu scene explained. Well, the first weapon that we have to talk about in this video is the straight sword, or jian. The straight sword is known as the Gentleman of Weapons, 百兵之尊, specifically the Green Destiny sword wielded by Zhang Ziyi's character. In Chinese, this sword is called 清明剑. Since it's called Green Destiny in English, you may think of the Ming as in Ming, or fate or destiny, but actually it's not that. It's this character instead, meaning dark, obscure, or the unseen world. And this name, 清明剑, was actually the name of a sword that belonged to Sun Quan, the ruler of the Wu state in the Three Kingdoms period. The actual sword prop was made by master sword caster Guo Changxi in southern Taiwan, and it's the material that it's made of that gives it its unique green hue. It's similar to how the Statue of Liberty, which is made of copper, originally looked like this, but as the metal oxidized in the air, it developed its famous green patina. Well, bronze does that too, and since the sword featured an inlay section in the blade with dragons, as you polish it, the parts of the sword that don't get polished because they are inlays always maintain that green hue. You can see it here in a documentary about it, and you can see it in the movie too. Funny thing is, the sword maker didn't even know who Ang Li was. He just said that he always seemed to be in a hurry. Perhaps he should have charged him more money. Anyway, in the movie, this is the sword of warrior Li Mubai, who is played by Chow Yun-fat, and he is trying to get rid of it by giving it to his friend. But then it is stolen by Zhang Ziyi's character, who is called Yu Jiaolong, and the story of the movie kind of revolves around getting it back. This type of sword is called a straight sword in English and normally would be referred to as jian in Chinese. And in China, you also see the term bao jian, or precious sword, for famous or formidable swords. The type of swords that can turn an already accomplished kung fu warrior into someone invincible. And that's why the terrible Netflix sequel to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, The Sword of Destiny, was called 卧虎藏龙清明宝剑. And that movie, my goodness, it really was a letdown. For some reason, they shot it in English in New Zealand, and Ang Li was not the director, and although Michelle Yeoh came back, Zhang Ziyi said that she would only reprise her role if it was Ang Li directing. They did have Yuan Wuping doing the fight choreography, so that's a highlight, but other than that, it was really just kind of like a kung fu movie produced largely by Westerners for a Western audience. I think China's Renmin Wang got it right, and I rarely agree with these Chinese mouthpiece medias, but they said that it was subpar and 没了李安变美了东方气韵. Basically, without Ang Li, it lacks the Asian flavor. And yeah, it's so true. But I digress. Let's move on to the next weapon, the broadsword, dao. In Chinese, dao just means knife and is used to refer to a lot of different weapons. But the most basic is the dao, that we translate as the broadsword. It can also be referred to as dan dao, or single broadsword, because there is a double broadsword too. The broadsword is referred to as 百兵之帅, or the general of all the weapons. It has its history in military applications. While straight swords were carried by Taoists or wandering poets for self-protection, the broadsword was used in large numbers by the military. Starting in the Shang Dynasty, it gradually replaced the straight sword as the weapon of choice in the army due to how easy it was to master and how cheap it was to produce. By the Three Kingdoms period, it had basically completely replaced the straight sword as the top military weapon for the infantry, and some Chinese soldiers even used it as recently as World War II against the Japanese in ambushes due to a shortage of firearms. The broadsword is a slashing and chopping weapon, and it's only sharp on one side, which means you can do moves like this, where the blunt side brushes across your body. And they can also be used in pairs. Double broadsword, 双刀. So there's this cool little part in the fight scene where you see Michelle Yeoh appear to split her broadsword in two. I guess it was actually two broadswords together all along. And this does exist, where two broadswords can share the same sheath. You notice with a pair of broadswords, the swords move either together in the same direction or across different planes. Because a big consideration is cutting off your own arm by accident when using two swords. But the double broadswords are eventually defeated by the Green Destiny, and she has to choose another weapon. The spear, 枪. The spear is known as the king of all weapons, 百兵之王, due to its long reach and its versatility. It has many different attacks and moves that you can do with it. Although there are many types of more complex and sturdy battle spears, the spear you see in this scene is the most simple kind that is a flexible waxwood with a metal tip. You'll commonly find them in martial arts schools. And Chinese people have used this type of spear consistently for many years. Look, here's a photo of a militia of Chinese women holding spears from 1938, and you can see that it's basically the same thing. But despite the spear's great strengths, when it comes down to the basics of Chinese five-element theory, metal overcomes wood. All right, what's our next weapon? The double hook swords, 双钩. So the go, or hook, is a weapon that supposedly dates back to the Warring States period and has been used throughout Chinese history, although it has never been a main weapon of the army. So it isn't one of the main weapons that people will learn in kung fu schools either. I would consider it more of a speciality. After someone has learned maybe the staff, then the broadsword, then they pick something more exotic, like this. The components of the hook sword are the blade, which is the long straight bit, basically like a regular sword. Then we have the hook, which can catch weapons. And the hook is also sharp, so you could slash with the hook too. Then there is the end of the weapon, which is also sharpened, so you could stab with that, kind of like a dagger. Then you have the crescent guard in front of where you hold it, which can be used to block, and it also obviously protects your hands. And then the last thing about this weapon is we have this move with the double hook swords, where they are linked together and swung around. This effectively more than doubles your reach, so that you can slash with the dagger end of the second hook sword. And this is a real move that is in the routines for this weapon. It looks like something very risky to do in combat. You could easily lose that second hook sword. So I'm not sure how many warriors in Chinese history would actually do this, but hey, it looks cool on film. Once the hook swords meet their demise, we then have the monk's spade, 禅杖. This is the weapon that proves a bit too heavy for Michelle Yeoh's character in the movie. The 禅杖 is the traditional weapon of a traveling Buddhist monk or abbot, and also the weapon of Sandy, who accompanies the Tang monk and the Monkey King in Journey to the West. The crescent end was to fight off wild animals, and the other end is a spade that you could literally dig a hole with. And that's what it was for, so if a monk found a dead body while he was out on the road, he could give it a proper burial. After ditching the monk's spade, she goes for the swordbreaker, 铁剪. So you could also call this a mace, and this is what I think this weapon is, since it's obviously so heavy. I mean, she smashes a weapons rack, the floor tiles, a chair, and a table with it. Basically, these weapons were designed to be blunt force instruments and to break other weapons with sharp edges like swords. But the Green Destiny, being made of such high quality materials and forged in the fires of Mount Doom. No, just kidding. But the Green Destiny, it was fine. Actually, the swordbreaker was all scratched up. Alternatively, some people on the internet seem to think that this is an iron whip, or 铁鞭, which is the one on the left in this picture. Reason I don't agree with this is the weight. Look at what a 铁鞭 actually looks like in real life. It's the bottom weapon in this photo. Yeah, that's right. You're not gonna be smashing through floor tiles and breaking chairs and tables with that. I think you get a little whipping noise out of it though, like. So anyway, before long, our so-called swordbreaker, or 铁剪, gets chopped in half, and Michelle Yeoh is given an ultimatum by her opponent.
Go ahead. Go pick anything. I'll wait. Whatever you want.
And she goes for the final weapon of the fight. The straight sword. 剑. Wait, isn't that the same weapon as the first sword in the video, the Green Destiny? Well, yes, but you will notice that this straight sword, or 剑, is actually a double-handed straight sword, or 双手剑, which is longer and heavier than a regular sword. And it's definitely more of a rare weapon as well. Most Chinese swords that you'll see in movies or in martial arts schools are going to be the single-hand variety. Now, it's a bit of a heavy sword for a lady, but maybe she picked it for the extra range it gave her, since she knows that it wouldn't be as sharp as the Green Destiny, so she is looking for any advantage she can get. She does wield it with two hands for pretty much every move. In the end, the double-handed straight sword gets chopped in half, but this creates the opportunity for the final move and victory for Michelle Yeoh's character. And that's it. That's every weapon in this famous kung fu scene. I hope you've enjoyed my breakdown. And guys, if you like the t-shirt I'm wearing and want to get yourself one, they come in all these cool chilled colors that I really like. Do click on the clothing link below. Also, if you want to see classical Chinese dance, which has many similarities with the Chinese martial arts, they come from the same root. If you want to see that on stage, check out the world's best Chinese arts company, Shenyun Performing Arts, that are currently in the middle of a world tour. Click the link below to watch the trailer, and if you do go on to buy a ticket, use our code LCN2025 to get your booking fee waived on all US show dates. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.